Solomon's Island is one of the thousands of communities in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. I spent my childhood playing in the water and eating crabs at my grandparents' house. But as I've gotten older, I've stopped doing those things as I noticed the bay change. I spoke to my grandmother, a resident of 30 years, a coastal ecologist working in Solomon's, and an environmental planner for the county government to find out more about the pollution in the bay.
The Chesapeake Bay, as you might know, has some pollution problems. There's this symptom we see in the Chesapeake Bay, like low dissolved oxygen or these dead zones. We see blooms of phytoplankton we don't really want to have a lot of. We see losses of seagrasses. And those are all symptoms of a disease that we call eutrophication. And eutrophication is defined as the increase in organic matter.
We catch crabs in our creek. We do fishing and water sports, and also sometimes go swimming in the water. But what's happening underneath, no one ever really talks about it. In recent years that's really significant is that we're seeing a loss of our seagrasses. And you can just look down off of the seawall or the dock and notice they're just not there anymore. And they used to be there back in 1987. We need to have Calvert County, specifically because that's where I live, take some action.
We have buffers and so forth from our streams and wetlands to help protect them. You need special permitting in order to impact a wetland. So we are doing things, but there's been no hammer saying, okay, you're not doing enough. It's hard to get funding, for lots of environmental stuff. So even though we're doing everything we can, all the new development is adding on to our load. And if you look at the nitrogen loads, they have come down some. They're not where we need to be, but they are coming down. So I think we're moving in the right direction, bay-wide.
To move the system any further is going to take a really concerted effort across the giant watershed that feeds the Chesapeake Bay. And that requires political will, and it also requires those of us doing this work to be able to tell the politicians what these signs are, because that helps them to make the case that this is doable. And we do think it's doable.
Educate the public as much as possible, and the elected officials. And if we don't, what's going to happen to our fisheries, our tourism?
In terms of management and policy, there is a timeline. So 2025 is a goal for reductions at the Chesapeake Bay program level, and there are consequences. So there are things that the states will face if they can't do the reductions by 2025.
Once the BPA gets, they are told not to do anything, I don't know, what will the states do?
Sustaining the health of the bay. And with the health of the bay, it's the health of the fish, it's the health of our wonderful Maryland crabs. It's also protecting the waterways with not using so much of the fertilizers and things on the lawns that end up in the water. and just dumping things in the water that don't belong there.
Now we're seeing a lot of good signs for improvements. In the Chesapeake, I have hope that many of the things my generation will be documenting will be positive changes.